Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Poetry of Justice show with Jackie Ray Phillips and, of course, with Lori G, the benefactor. How are you doing tonight, Sissy?
I'm doing well.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
I'm just going to toss it off to you and let you do your thing, sis.
Well, okay, listeners, this is one. Go grab your friends, everybody. Tune in. You're going to hear an amazing conversation. As you know, on the POJ show, we have a segment called The Chat with girlfriends, always talking about relationships, always talking about that. But we never hear a male's perspective about what men want in a relationship. And we're going to hear that today. So I am so honored to be in the presence of these amazing kings today that are going to share their ideas, their insights about relationships, sustainability, and what they're looking for in a relationship or what they received in a relationship. So joining me today, I'm going to go across the panel and introduce each one of them to you, is we have Mr. Thurman here with us, who I've known forever. Yes, Thurman and I went to college together. Fight on, absolutely. And he is in risk management.
Yes.
So Thurm, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here with us.
Thank you.
And then I have here with us Mr. Lawrence P. Media.
It's an honor to be here. Lawrence P., the Professional Bachelor.
Right.
The
There you go. You
professional
forgot that.
bachelor.
To
Totally.
be correct.
I stand corrected.
I stand corrected.
And Lawrence Industry is entertainment.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
a lot happening there. Welcome. Thank
Absolutely.
you for joining us.
No problem.
And then we have Mr. Rodney Lister with us today, who is into politics, activism. And I think Jackie and you have known each other a very long time, yeah?
Compton natives.
CPT.
Welcome, Rodney.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
And then we have Mr. Sol Washington with us, who's in education and is one of my newest friends and is just an incredible individual. Welcome, Sol.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Right.
Thank you for coming, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So happy that all of you are here. Do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, this is all you, Sissy. I'm just
Okay.
chilling. I'm going to be
All right.
today because I'm ready to know, too. What's the players want?
Hey,
Let's take a
What's
sip.
in my mind? I want to see.
Get some notepads here. So we're going to just start it off. Like I said, I have some questions, but I know you all have things that you want women to hear. Lawrence and I were having a conversation kind of briefly about, men get together and talk, and they would like women just to sit there, be a part of the conversation, but not say anything. They just want them to sit there and be quiet, right?
That's a
So that they
skill.
could take notes.
That is
that
a
was
skill.
the skill. Yeah, that was the skill.
Listening is a skill.
Right, listening is a skill. So feel free to add in there whatever you want, but maybe kick things off with, what does a healthy relationship look like for you or for me?
Male, female.
A healthy monogamous
Yeah,
relationship.
that's what I'm saying. Male, female. Where we at with?
Okay, let's start with a healthy monogamous relationship, and then we'll move to a poly relationship.
Went straight into
But,
poly.
Let's
go with the
That is the issue. Sometimes we overlook the fact that in most situations, monogamy can be ridiculous. And when it comes to certain demographics, but if we're talking about a healthy, monogamous, loving, prosperous relationship, it requires intimacy, requires friendship, requires trust, commitment, and two people who are willing to put the effort in and put the energy in, even through the bad times, and make things work. It's work. It's work.
So
I think it's at least 40% work, 60% fun, play,
That's fair.
enjoyment.
That's
But it's
fair.
at least 40% work, and that's when you're
Effort.
young and healthy and financially capable.
Right.
Once you get into these other sort of side situations where things become a little more tricky, and I'll say that word in quotes, you can add on a whole nother layer of problems, which may turns out 40 into 60, 65, maybe 70% work to get through the hard times, and you can come back to that cushy, comfortable 40% work.
That's true.
That's probably on a daily, at least, maybe bi-weekly basis.
Yeah.
I think for me, my foundation has always been, well, as I've gotten older and learned from mistakes, my foundation has been communication and honesty from day one. Because I feel that if I keep it a buck with you and tell you what I'm on, and you rock with it or you good with it, then we're able to move forward. There's nothing hidden, nothing surprises you. If I tell you, for example, I don't have a girlfriend, but I go out and I date, and you decide to still interact with me, knowing that I date other people, then there's no opportunity for anyone to feel betrayed or misled versus me saying, I'm not doing anything. I'm just at home every night by myself. And then she says, okay, cool. Then she finds out I do go on dates. Well, I've messed the foundation up already with a lie that was unnecessary.
Right.
So I've learned that when I meet someone and I'm beginning to interact with them, just keep it truthful from day one and communication. Because if I can't talk to you, then I will never learn about you and vice versa. And going to what my friend over here said, knowing how to listen.
Absolutely.
I have to know how to listen to you, but it goes both ways.
Both ways.
So communication, honesty, being able to listen.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you guys both have a goal of peace, I think if that's always the goal, then I think everything kind of falls in line. That falls in line with communication. That falls in line with the work and the effort. We're doing all this to get back to peace. So any lady that I deal with from the get go, because I'm very monotone, and so there's no reason for me to be. So if I'm up there, that's not where we need to be. We need to be talking very intimately all the time. So to me, that's what peace is. So if that's the goal, it can get a little bit outlandish every now and then, but the goal is to get back to that cuddle, that very low frequency of, I'm happy to be with you, you happy to be with me. We're happier together than separate.
King Thurman.
The king.
Well, I don't know if I'm the only one that's been married, but I've celebrated 30 glorious years of marriage.
Yay.
Outstanding.
Right?
Outstanding.
And so the majority of my response is going to be so that I can go back home.
Yeah.
That part. Absolutely.
So,
That's great.
one of the parts of having a good relationship in a married relationship, the first thing is to have separate bathrooms.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, we get specific.
Right.
I'm listening.
Yeah, that's good.
We
That's
have to have
interesting.
separate bathrooms because
Okay.
we need our own space and
And closets.
separate
What about
closets.
closets?
Wow.
Okay.
Separate but equal.
Right. Separate but equal.
Yeah,
Okay.
separate but equal.
I like
Okay.
that.
Interesting.
You know, I
That's
want to
very
piggyback on
specific.
something real quick. That something you said that's very important. I think it's very important. You talked about work, and relationships involve work. And maybe I'm biased or whatever, but I believe that on the front end, for whatever reason, men have to work harder on the front end on a relationship, because ideally, traditionally, we're the ones asking, can we take you out? We're the ones that have to plan what we do early on.
Right.
After you get a month or 2 or 3 in, it starts to balance out. But traditionally, and I'm this way, we are chasers, we're hunters.
We
So when
should
you
be.
see someone you like, you're trying to work to get the phone number, get their attention, hold their attention. May I take you out? And then work during that first date to earn a second date. When actuality, and this is not a bad thing, in actuality, the woman just has to show up, look
pretty.
nice,
Okay.
be engaging, and kind of just be herself. We have to show that we're worthy of your time, which ties into work. And then that work keeps going, because once you get past the 4 or 5 months mark, well, are we dating? I have to still work towards that. Are we a couple? I got to work towards that. And I did, you mentioned some percentages earlier. It starts to balance out, but on the front end,
Yeah.
It's a lot
the
of
work aspect of it is, I wouldn't say 100%, but it's over 65%.
But that's the
Wow.
chivalry that's innate in us to
Right.
be more chivalry than a woman. You know what I mean? So, but I like his analogy. Like, it does fluctuate from 40 to 60. I love that. I think that's very correct. And what you said, work. I in respect to marriage, I think it's a business
Yeah.
that you enjoy being
Doing
an an employee of. You know what I mean? It's just a great business to be in. But it is business because, look, we sign papers. It ain't just boyfriend, girlfriend. You can just ghost me. We
Right.
this is a business.
Well, I will tell you, I am definitely the employee.
Good answer.
She's the boss. I'm
Okay,
making
good
sure I
answer.
make it 31 years.
Right.
Exactly.
Beautiful. God bless her. I love it.
Happy life, happy wife.
Happy
Happy
wife,
wife,
that's what they
happy
say.
life.
Right.
So Saul, I want to engage you just
I
a little
know.
bit more specifically, based on what Rodney said in terms of the chasing the woman and you know all she has to do is show up.
Mhm.
I know there's some women out there that's a little more aggressive than that.
A lot more.
A lot more
aggressive.
aggressive. What are your thoughts about that? Do you like a woman who's a little more aggressive, or do you want her
It
just
depends.
to kind of be silent and show up?
We live in a society now where that the traditional gender roles are, it's rare that you find anyone, especially if they're in their 30s or maybe early 40s, because that's not how they were raised, right? If you were in your upper 40s, maybe early 50s, and even our parents weren't like our grandparents. Our grandparents, like, marriage was forever, and regardless of what happened, like, there was a sense of permanence, like that till death do us part actually meant something in that generation. In this generation, you have a lot of very successful women who have very fulfilling lives absent that relationship. So it becomes, it should be, I think, it should be a partnership of two equals. But there are people, male and female, who don't necessarily appreciate that 50-50 sort of, we're entering the situation as two equals that are going to equally contribute in every way. So it just depends. It depends. And I feel like there are a lot of women who know what they want, who have been through a lot and require, you know, they have very specific expectations, very specific expectations. And most men, like my brother just said, we kind of have to go, okay, so this is what you need, this is what you want. Let me make sure that I can give you what you want and you can give me what I want. And we both come out of the situation and it's equitable and we're both, you know, happy about it. But at the initial situation, or the initial, what's what I'm looking for? The initial negotiation.
So you always say that
The
about
initial
negotiation.
negotiations are totally, it's no longer cut and dry. It depends. Some people, some women are more financially stable than men. Some men are more financially stable than women. Some women are more socially aggressive and socially inept than men. And it's totally, I like it better because it no longer restricts you to this specific category. You can be who you are and find someone who's comparable to who you are, and not have to, you know, if you're there were times where if a woman was wanting to be in a relationship, she had to be this, she had to cook, she had to clean, she had to, there were all these, it's like a list of, you can almost study it like an exam.
Right.
This
It's
is
the SAT.
the wife exam.
Right.
Check off all the wife boxes and all the husband boxes. Those categories have been shuffled.
Yeah.
Which I think is for the good. I think personally, it's controversial, but
What do you think, panel?
Yeah, I think if a man comes from a traditional background of I am a provider, protector, his innate reaction is like, I don't want you to take orders from nobody else. I don't want you to be subservient to anybody else. You know what I mean? So take care of home. Make sure the home is a nurturing environment, a peaceful environment. The kids are taken care of. I don't think innately any man wants his wife to go up somewhere and be taking orders from anybody else. You know what I mean? But him, respectfully. You know what I mean? But sometimes, like you said, nowadays women are kind of like, I need to work. I can't imagine not working. So that's where a little bit of the conflict comes on. But it's like, yo, then start your own business. I'd rather you work for yourself. And that's kind of like where we're at right now. But some women find it very hard to meet, I mean, the term is so cliche, high value men, and kind of get what they want. But then they don't want to not work or not work for themselves or whatever. So it's like it's a fork in the road right now to where it's like you meet the man that you desire, that you've always wanted. Now you have to kind of let go of some of that independence and get into your feminine energy. And that's difficult for some women who's been independent for most of their life.
Right.
I'm bored. I don't want to make a garden. I don't want to be doing home setup. It's kind of like, a man don't want you out there taking orders from another man. We don't want that. We want you to be, to be in your feminine energy as much as you possibly can. And because I'm financially stable to allow you to do that, start your own business or be a beautiful housewife, which is work. It ain't an easy thing, but that's where a man innately wants a woman to be, like, nurture the home, period. Because that's.
I have another interesting question.
Okay.
I was listening to a gentleman on YouTube that what sparked my memory is this high value term. And he was talking about women want a high value man, but a man wants a high value woman. And that women are at, I guess, a little bit of a detriment because there are so many high value women out there that we really have to think about as women, what we're looking for.
But what does that mean? What does
Right.
high
I think for
value
him
mean?
it meant like, if you're
looking.
40, the boat done kind of sailed for you because there's a lot of 22, 25-year-olds.
And here we go. Here we go.
They can bring more to the table. So I shouldn't be looking for gentlemen like you.
So let's
Because
Value is everything.
that's not
Value is everything.
that's not in the cards for me.
So let's keep it real. Who has more value to a man? A woman between 19 and 25 or a woman between 35 and 45? It's as simple as that. It's not disrespecting any of those age groups, but it's like the truth is the truth. You know what I mean? So when it comes to what is a high value woman, a woman between 19 and 25 I don't want to say that's as good as it gets, but physically, unless you just, I mean, you can look at any woman between 19 and 25 and then see them between 35, and it's hard to keep that thing going all the way up. For a man, our pendulum swing a little bit differently because we kind of gradually grow into this high value man certification, but women kind of start there. And 19 to 25 is kind of like everything's perky, popping, you're vibrant, you haven't been through this heartbreak, you're green. Then after 25, 26, it gets interesting. And the value gets interesting. I'm not gonna say it goes lower, but it just gets interesting.
Interesting.
Gentlemen.
Because right now
But I'ma
I
leave it
just
at
need
that.
to dig a hole and die.
Right.
There's no options for me out there. There's no options.
But see,
It gets interesting.
But see, I never understood high value. I mean, I've heard people discuss it and whatnot. I think it's very subjective. But
Well, let's define it. What does that mean?
And
What
what I was
does that
saying,
mean?
it was strictly physical. That what I just said was strictly physical.
and so take what you
Strictly
said,
physical,
and
strictly
I
physical.
hear what you're saying, women, younger women, but I'm older, and I like a woman with like grown woman weight. When I go out, I see sisters who are in their 40s and 50s who, through either good genetics or hard work or good dieting, man, I'm like, whoa.
Especially black women.
Especially black women.
I get it.
So, if it's physically, the younger woman, because they don't have to work at it as hard.
Yeah.
Gravity hasn't hit them.
Right.
That's true.
Age hasn't hit them.
Right.
They could eat like young men. They could eat whatever.
That's
Nothing
when the
impacts
fruit is
them
the
and all that.
ripest. I mean,
But
that's
when you take a person like me in my age range, I'm not looking at nobody that young. Because what can you really do for me besides sex?
Right.
Let's keep it a buck.
Absolutely.
The thing I'm talking about, the groups I'm talking about, the historical events, you weren't even born from a lot of them.
they can be molded though. No, I'm keeping it real. The mold
You right.
hasn't
You
hasn't
right.
hardened.
You right.
So when you say what can you bring, that's a moldable woman.
But that goes back to what he said earlier. Work. How
Right.
hard do I want to work to mold somebody versus some? It's like this. It's like I like old school cars.
Okay.
I like old school cars. I'll see a car that's older, and I know if I put the work in on that car, when it's done, it's gonna kill any car out here, brand new, off the line, because it's that classic car. versus going ahead and getting that car that's ready made. It comes down to how much work I want to do. Do I not want to work on a car and get a car that's top line off the showroom floor, ready to go, boom? Or do I want to get a car that I work with, put that work in, put that time in, and now when we hit the block, you know,
Trying
Classic cars are more rare.
trying to remold a woman at a certain point in her
He
life
said
is
remold.
probably one. It's probably the one of the
Remold.
most hardest things to do in the world, to remold a woman at a certain point in her life where she's like, no, I am this way. I am. It takes work. You might get there. But she's kind of like, this is who I am. Take me or love it. This is a grown woman body. I'm not 22. I ain't the one of these. And you have to, it's more of an acceptance how
Right.
life has led you to this point. But I agree. If you could remold a woman that is in her prime, or that's a, I don't even know what it looks
It's a
like.
miracle, I guess. It's an anomaly.
But again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It depends on where they are in life. If a woman is content, you know, and she is successful,
Mm-hmm.
and she's had to do it by herself, good luck.
Good luck.
Because
Good luck.
there is
Yeah.
going to be an organic resentment that you can't necessarily penetrate. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible. It just
I
means
agree.
that you're gonna have to accept who she is, as is, and that has to be something that you're looking for. Trying to change a successful woman in her 40s that's already went through everything and done everything on her own.
It's tough.
And I don't think that we should be trying to change women like that.
Yeah.
My
Who are
point
we to
exactly.
say
Yeah.
that they need to change? For us, no. Now, let's just be honest. There's a pecking order here,
Uh-oh.
right? If you are a successful, good-looking young man, you're probably at the top of the food chain, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That next tier is the good-looking younger woman. And sometimes those two situations, those two superficial situations, offset each other. I'm a young woman. I look good, and I want someone that's going to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good-looking young man that has the money.
Yeah.
I can take care of you. I may want 2 or 3 of you,
That's where you usually go to the left.
but I'll take care of you, and you look the way I want you to look. So those two superficial ideologies cancel each other out. Now, you can get like that next tier of still good-looking, but a good-looking older man may not have as much,
Vigor.
yeah.
He don't club as like he used to. He just
Right.
kind of homebody. Yeah.
But we may not be able to get whoever we want in that younger sort of early 20s to mid 20s. I mean, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
But when you get into like the younger, well, the
After the age of drinking, 22, 23, 24, it can get tricky. It's like, it's kind of young, bro. You're 59 and she 23. It's getting.
When you're shining
and
sharp.
that's the controversial conversation happening right now.
needs
Yeah,
talking about.
19
Everyone's
and
talking
56.
about.
Yeah.
There is, I mean, it's like my man said, like there's very little you're gonna have in common intellectually with
Right.
someone that's 35 years younger than you.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes that's not the requisite.
Right, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Sometimes we are not looking for an intellectual equal. We're
Yeah.
looking for the exact opposite. Sometimes we're looking for someone who is malleable, who
Absolutely.
is moldable,
Yeah.
who's looking to be something, and they have no idea what they want to be.
Mentored. Yeah.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
and so it fits.
So it comes down to, and I'm not sure if this segues into anything or whatnot, but it comes down to what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
If I'm looking for someone that just is cool, going to dinners, going to events, going to shows, nothing else. That's all I'm looking for. Then,
Looking for a companion.
oh no, there's someone that's, you know, if I'm just looking for someone that takes no maintenance, like a cactus,
Whoa.
like a cactus. I call you and I say, hey, what are you doing?
Thurman is like,
Shout out to all the cactuses out there. Not a cougar, but cactus.
Hey,
Don't sting me. Don't sting
So
me.
as an older man, if I'm looking for something like that, hey, you know, I got tickets for this event. Do you want to go? Sure, I'll come pick you up. No expectations. We just kicking it, hanging out. On some level, that is a relationship interaction, but it's just strictly platonic, whatever.
Like,
you know, cactus like. You know,
Hey, that's
if
a
I
t-shirt.
call cool,
I'm looking for a cactus.
if I call cool,
Copyrighted
if I
by
don't
this man.
call,
Cool.
no harm, no foul.
Right.
Because you know,
It's dry. It is cut.
when-
It's cut and dry.
when you start to drop to that 15, 20, 25-year age gap,
Mm.
because there might be some things I like to do socially that you have no interest in
Mm-hmm.
because you haven't been exposed to it or
Right.
doesn't interest you. So when you get to the point where you're a man, you have to figure out, what am I on? Am I looking for a companion? Looking for a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Looking for a wife
Fun.
or fun?
Yeah.
And once you identify what you're looking for, that's going to dictate how you interact in that particular arena.
Yeah.
I have a question because I've heard this
Interesting.
from men. I don't know if it's true, but that men are visual,
Yeah.
right? So that they, they see a woman visually first. Doesn't matter if she's a job, no job, rich, poor, got a brain, no brain. It's just all visual.
I'm going to
Right.
let him take that.
Okay, so is that like, would you go for something
Yes.
very visual?
Yes.
Yeah.
But she couldn't read. Is that
Yes.
gonna work out?
That may be
Yes.
better.
Okay,
How
that's
so?
better.
That's
So-
not better. They talked about it. I forget, it was something on Instagram. They were talking about how if Jay-Z met Beyonce and she was working at Wendy's, he would still she would still be Beyonce because she's still gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You flip that script. If Beyonce met Jay-Z and he was working at Wendy's, there would be no.
Not so much.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. So our absence of regard for where you are financially,
It doesn't matter.
like
Absolutely.
no, we're
No,
not.
it
We're
doesn't
not
matter.
really like it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
But we do care about the aesthetics. That's the first thing, and probably the most prominent thing that we look for.
But you know what?
it's an unpopular opinion.
It's
but
very
it is.
perspective.
Yes.
Like for me, I'm a backside guy. That backside gotta be intact. That's just me personally. The front side, it can be humble. You know what I mean? But so me specific. But at the end of the day, it is a
be
physical.
humble.
It's a physical attribute that
Right.
inspires me to go up to her, to be organic, to be like, hey, woo, this and that. So we all have our preferences, and they all stem from being, if we're physical, man, that's what gets us going. That's what gets us anxious. That's what that creates the chemistry. And then slowly but surely, we start digging into some of those attributes that are not physical, psychological, emotional, because you can have all that, but you can say a few things. It's like, oh, you cuckoo.
Yeah.
Oh, you cuckoo. You got, but
And
you
we'll
cuckoo.
put up with it for a certain amount of time if she's pretty enough. Like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
crazy,
Absolutely.
but I'm not. I haven't. That crazy hasn't turned me off yet. She's still
Yeah.
the aesthetic.
The
is
aesthetic
still
is
kind of-
outweighing.
exactly.
Okay.
So-
yeah.
But it's a time bomb. At some point,
It's going to go off.
right?
So what's the duration of time? Is
Yeah.
it 3 months, 6 months,
But
9
that's-
years?
When she show up unannounced, that's
But I do
usually,
have a question though.
Yeah.
If I could interrupt, as you being the only married man amongst us, when you first met your wife, before she was your wife, what drew you to her? Was it the visual when you first saw her that said, "Okay," or did someone introduce you and say, "I have somebody I think you might want to know or
Okay,
get to meet"?
that's a great question. So, my wife and I met on a blind date,
Oh.
Interesting.
and so
wow.
it was Marie's line sister who introduced, and my good homeboy, who you may know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were on our best behavior.
Mm.
I was things I may have done, behavior I may have exhibited, let's say college age. I would not dare do it on a first date with a mutual friend.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
and I think she was on her best behavior too.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how it
But
goes.
was the visual there that after you
You
met her
met her.
blind date, you said,
So it's blind. So we
Gorgeous.
talked on the phone
Uh-huh.
first, and then I went to her apartment, and she was this gorgeous woman with
Yeah.
nice attributes.
there you go.
So
Tying
a
into
great
what
way
you
to put
said.
it.
It's gonna
Totally
always be
fit, yeah.
as a man. It's gonna always be physical. It's hard to just base it strictly off of, I mean, well, you can fall in love over the phone and talking. That's very true. But man, we're definitely physical creatures, and once we see what we like, it helps.
It helps.
It doesn't seal the deal, but it's like, okay, yeah, well, I'm definitely gonna holler at you, and then give it some time and get to know you, and it's just like,
And that statement, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I forgot how you phrased it. The attribute that pulls you in, you know. And for me, something that pulls me in is, and it's weird. Obviously, the face. I want the face to be nice, but I always look at a person's shoes.
I know. You
Interesting.
cannot wear a wedgie.
And then so for me, it is weird, but it's a visual thing.
Yeah.
You know, a woman could be as beautiful as all outdoors, but if the shoes are just, I'm like, I don't know why.
The superficial.
But Jackie will tell you, it's the shoes.
Yeah. We like what we like.
But it's a visual. You know, if you like a woman, who just has this crazy figure, you know, that's gonna pull you in.
Yeah.
If you are into a woman with nice hair, be it long or short, visually that's gonna pull you in.
But if she got busted shoes, you just not in.
Reggie.
I got a girlfriend. You got TV shoes. She not with you.
I don't know about
Hey,
that.
I'm always like Eddie Murphy in that movie Boomerang. It's the shoes. Hey, you're not dating the shoes, but I kind of am. I kind of am.
You said it's a deal breaker?
Oh, yeah, off the top.
Oh,
Wow.
Off the top.
But it makes sense. It makes sense. Love is blind.
Feet can be
But
fixed.
like is
No, my
different.
feet, shoes.
Shoes.
Oh, shit. Oh,
Shoes.
that
You
can be. Oh, come on.
No, but she needs to
but
have that.
You can't help what you like.
Yeah.
Now,
that's
once you fall in love,
Doesn't matter
all that
anymore.
goes away,
Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's no longer superficial. It's no longer one thing. It's like the person whoever this person is. It's like a family member, right? Like we love our parents, we love our children, regardless of what they look like. But when it comes to the we like what we like,
Absolutely.
and it needs to be a separation. Sometimes people get into weird situations because they can't separate the difference between love and like. Like I said, love is blind, like is deaf. We're not listening to what they're talking about.
Say that again.
Love is blind, but like is deaf.
Oh.
If I'm looking and I'm loving what I'm looking at, and what it's almost like
It don't matter.
Remember the Charlie Brown mind?
Yeah. The teacher.
I don't even
the teacher.
hear what they're saying. I'm captivated by what I'm seeing, and eventually, as things progress, the rest comes together.
Yeah.
But we can't help some of us as males. We
Right.
can't help
We
but
like
be
what we like.
blinded by the aesthetics.
So here I have a scenario. So you're visual. You can all agree to that as men.
Generally, yes.
Right, generally. So what happens, like, if you meet her, she has some great shoes. These really great shoes, right? But then it's like 9 months in, and she went on a shopping spree, and now she got some shoes that you
And
hate.
she bought a wedgie.
What happened?
She's gonna
And
come
once
home
you're
and
in
wear
love,
shoes
like
on.
you said, it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
Even
Once
if you're in
Oh,
love
so
with right
once you
now,
flip to the love, it
Yeah, once
doesn't
you get
matter
there, yeah.
visually
Yeah,
anymore?
once you like and you're in that
You're in the
spell
game
of
now, yeah.
love, it doesn't really matter. Your breath could sting, your butt could smell,
It
your
but it
perfume
shouldn't
could
be.
be. It doesn't really matter.
It shouldn't be though, because
Wait.
You're not
It shouldn't
judging
be
as
that way.
much.
It
Once
shouldn't
you're
be
in
that
love,
way.
you don't
Okay,
judge
okay.
as much.
well, you should want to like. I think one of the biggest problems with relationships. I hate to say this, please don't hate me, but especially with women, is like I got him, girl, I got him,
Yeah.
let
and
go.
all of a sudden
Yeah.
everything changes. It's like
Yeah.
okay, you didn't look
Yeah.
like that, and you don't have to look like that, but I got him.
She started
So,
letting go.
I
so
ain't gotta do
I
that.
think
Yeah.
that
The work is
the
over.
That happens.
preservation
That happens.
of your partner's happiness. In all caps, in a bold font, preservation of your partner's happiness. Not just the love, but the like. I want to like my partner as long as possible.
Yeah.
The love is going to happen. Time almost guarantees that you're going to, like, if you spend enough time with someone, there's going to be, even if it's a platonic love, it's going to manifest itself.
I think that the continuation of the likeness goes to your point of the work. You can always recreate yourself and make your significant like something new about you. You know what I mean? And I think once you have them, I got them, you stop working, you get complacent, and you stop creating a likeness for yourself. And it kind of flips. Now it's like, I don't even like how you eat cereal. I hate when you go.
Right.
I hate the way you slide through your slides through the living room. It gets real petty. Compared to like, baby, okay, so you switching it up. Now you starting to do this pink thing this month. Purple looks good on you.
I got to
So
put
that
that on the
work and that
spot too
effort,
in a
right.
second. Because you were on your best behavior when you met your wife, right?
Absolutely.
Are you still on your best behavior?
As best as I can.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like we find ourselves at our best behavior when we're motivated to be.
Yeah.
And where does that motivation come from?
Respect.
That's
Respect.
one.
The respect
That's
gets
one.
compromised. And I'll tell you when it stops. And this is really interesting. In the beginning, here's your plate, honey. Oh, thank you so much. Once that stops, appreciating these little gestures, that's the first sign, in my opinion. Gratitude, appreciation. Once that stops, and it's real petty. It's just like you bring them a plate. You don't have to say thank you. Why do I have to stop? So me as a professional bachelor, most think, okay, you're happy being single, you're good. Every day I grow to appreciate the role of a woman in my life every single day. So it's like I know that saying thank you for the drink or food, that means something.
Means a lot.
And never stop doing that. You know what I mean? So it grows in
If
appreciation.
I may, since I'm the vet,
Yeah.
I found that if I take the initiative and wash the dishes and clean the kitchen, that I win. It's something as simple as that. Now, have I learned it after 30 years? No, but I'm working on it. It's that love is not necessarily it's actions. It's my wife likes love by actions. I could buy her all the Tiffany she wants, but I don't think she really cares. I think she would like it if I clean the bathroom,
Right.
clean the
Right.
kitchen. So that's from a do, sweetheart.
Yes.
I'm gonna clean the bathroom. And
Act of service.
so to this gentleman's point, that work is both sides. She says she lets herself go, and we have a habit of doing it as well.
Both
So
sides.
we need to stay in a situation where what attracted each other to each other, whatever that is.
Right.
If you was buff 15 years ago, at least try to keep it. If you like,
Right.
way she was shaped, so it's a mutual approach to staying attractive to one another.
Yeah.
Something that we spoke about early on that's like a deal breaker for me. For me, is if you're unable to communicate or you don't like communicating, that's never going to work for me. Because I tell people this. I failed that class. They say, "What class?" I say, "I don't read minds." I failed that class.
Right.
I need to know what you need, what you want. If something's bothering you outside of me, speak on it because I can see it on you.
Infecting, yeah.
And if I'm an attentive man, I'm gonna go ahead and say, "You good? What's going on?" And you say, "Well, nothing." Well, I can see something's bothering you. Well, how hard do I press? And if I don't push, I take your nothing to be nothing. Now I don't care.
Right.
And
That's a
converse.
class. That's a class I got to see in.
Yeah, right. And then
But it's a class you got to take.
And then,
Right.
And then if you can't talk to me about something I'm doing that's not making you feel comfortable or feeling safe or secure, especially when I've told you, you can always talk to me.
Right.
I always say, don't give me an F on the test I haven't taken yet. Don't assume I won't listen or I won't talk. You're going to assume I won't because of your past experiences.
Right.
And when you meet someone and you're getting to know them brand new, on both sides, but also more so women, the past is the past. And the past is undefeated. The past is you. No one's ever gone back to the past and changed it and fixed it to the betterment of you.
That's true.
Right.
You can only learn from the past. You can't change it. So when you carry the past with you, it's not dead.
Yeah.
It's still in your presence.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times
Right.
in relationships, when people don't let go of the past, and because no disrespect to anyone that's not heterosexual, because I am heterosexual, I don't know how men who deal with other men bring their past forward. But I know that women more often not bring their past into the relationship that they're in now. My last guy did this, or so many guys have always lied to me, and I get that. I'll make sure
Trauma.
that I don't repeat that, but don't doubt me forever
Because
or for a long period of time, because at some point in time, my interest has an expiration date.
Yeah.
Be it 2 weeks, be it a month, but at some point in time,
You're
you
not
might
gonna
say,
do it.
"Yeah, I'm good," because emotionally, I'm not attached to anything.
right. Yeah. Right.
You know, the heart hasn't gotten involved. When the heart gets involved, it's harder to walk away.
It is. Yeah.
But when the heart's not involved, and you just being on some respect stuff, you say, "I'm good."
Everyone deserves a clean slate at the beginning. The duration of that clean slate varies per person, but I think it's fair to, no matter what your luggage is, you got to take each person for face value until they show you otherwise. I think the experiences and traumas that you go through, your antennas just get higher and higher and higher. So where I'm at in my life, my antennas, I got several antennas. So my patience is really like, we not doing that. We not doing the you been on the phone while we watching Netflix. We no, I'm gonna cut off the DVD or the whatever, and that's it.
Right.
Oh, but it was just no. It's we're not doing this.
Right,
I've been there,
right.
done that. So that's what them antennas do. It just makes you a little bit more savvy, and it just, it's like my time is valuable, and obviously you don't appreciate that where you are in your life. And good luck with your next adventure. I won't do it ever again. No, you will.
Yeah.
You will.
Look,
It's
I know
in
you won't because you
It's
won't
in
be here.
Because
You won't be here with me. Yeah.
Right.
So everybody has their patience and their level of discernment to that, but the older you get, the wiser you get, the more things you be through. Your patience should be a little bit sharper. Like we're not repeating things in relationships, and that's kind of like where I'm at. So unless you have the tolerance to repeat the same situation, that's crazy to me.
Which is insane.
You know, for
Gotta
men
do it
and
for
women.
yourself,
You know.
You know, I have a question for you. And a long time ago, a friend called me George Clooney. I said, well, what does that mean? And they were like, you're never going to settle down. You're going to always just be the guy that has a girlfriend, and then when that ends, on to the next one.
Serial monogamous.
Right. So with you, with your profession, with your indicating professional bachelor, which is fine.
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself retiring out that game?
Absolutely. I think what
And hold on. And what does that look like?
I'm blessed to have that switch. Like the opposite of a professional bachelor is a professional gentleman. So a year from now, I can be like, yeah, I remember I was on this show. Now I found somebody who is my queen, who is the love of my life, who it's a complete flip. And I'm praising her and being like, I told you every day I appreciate the role of a woman, and this particular person came in my life at a certain time and she fit like a glove. Peace has always been our goal. Our communication is beautiful. We can conversate and not even have sex. You know what I mean? But when we get down, it's amazing. So when you and that's not even about finding somebody perfect. It's just finding somebody that fits the time in and where you are in your life. And so, but yeah, there is the opposite of that, and it's a professional gentleman, and it's holding your queen, you know, on the pedestal. Like this is it doesn't get no better than this. I don't care who y'all are. This is she will drive off that cliff with me. And that's what we all want as a man. You know what I mean? We just want, like, baby, you ready to do this? I'm ready, baby. Floor it. It's me and you. Vroom.
There you go.
And that's it. Yeah.
So, gentlemen, let's move a little more risque here, right? Let's talk about sex.
Baby.
Because women are always, talking about sex. Whether it's, man, I'm too tired tonight. I got the dishes. I got the kids. Like, oh, I just need to go crochet. How do I keep my marriage exciting? Or it's like, I don't know. The Steve Harvey book said I needed to wait 90 days before anything happened, right? So how important is sex to you as men in relationships, whether they're fairly new, long-term, in general?
I think depending where you are in your life, if you're just learning about sex, you should do it as much as possible, especially as a man, because you have to be.
You gotta get good at it.
You gotta be good at it. You gotta be good at it, because sometimes the women are inexperienced and someone has to kind of lead the reins. But sometimes, in the older part of your life, sex is not really the priority, and it's more about companionship and intimacy, which doesn't have to do with sex. You know what I mean? So. I think it kind of flows like water in a cup. You have these peaks and valleys to where the sex is crazy, life things happens, people, mom passed, dad passed, sex ain't really the priority, and you have to show grace during those periods, because it's gonna come back, but you gotta have that patience to wait for it. And it could just be one subtle thing, her cooking breakfast, and you kind of come behind her and things pop off. It's just like, damn, it's been 3 months, but now we back. You know what I mean? So if you don't have that grace, especially in marriage or a long-term relationship, you're not going to be wham-bamming every day. I've never been married or in like a long-term 10, 15-year relationship, but I know from conversations and it's like, bro, it ain't going to be what you think it's going to be. So hopefully you with somebody that's a friend, a companion, that's fun, that you like, because when it gets dark, that bedroom gets cold and you get moody because you in pain or you got aches or she's overworked and she's tired, y'all both got to show grace because it's going to come back around and it's going to be better than ever. It's going to kind of like be like it's new, but it ain't going to really be new. But just rekindling that spark and y'all back on that, every other day. Or, hey, I'm going to come to, to your job and, we're going to go to remember our old spot we used to, let's do that. And it's like, oh my God, you want to do that? Let's go back. You know what I mean? So I think sex is very important, but it depends on where you are in your life. Me as a professional bachelor, I mean, let's get this out the way. Let's see if we have sexual chemistry. You can't fake that. So if we don't, we may not communicate after this. If we do, we may have a very long companionship till we old and gray, and it could just be based off of that, but it depends on where you are in your life. That's just where I'm at right now.
I think for me, and maybe I'm the heathen in the group or whatever, I don't know, but I'm trying to have it every day.
Okay. Every day.
And this is not an arrogant statement or nothing like that, but God has found favor in me saying you're able to still have it every day.
That's a blessing.
And my sex drive hasn't gone down. I think the challenge I have is, and this is not on some braggadocious at all.
Talk that.
But a lot of women, as they get older, there are some women whose sex drive increases, but when you get around that late 40, 50 range, it kind of levels out. Really? And that's been the biggest problem. Well, the ones I'm meeting, I got to hang out with you.
Right.
But it's if the sex, whatever your sex drive is, be it low, medium, or high, you're gonna need to match up with somebody like that because if hers is high and mine's is medium, she's not gonna be satisfied. If mine's is high and she's a low, and then what happens when someone's not sexually satisfied?
Right.
You're gonna find someone or something to satisfy you. That's true. Which leads to problems. And I'll say this and I'll stop. We don't talk about sex when you get to know somebody. You talk about, can you cook? Can you eat? What do you like to eat? Do you travel? Do you got a passport? Do you live by yourself? We ask all these other questions. But we never really say, so how important is sex to you? And then if a woman tells you, well, I'm not really into it, well, guess what? No harm, no foul. No one can get mad. If a man told you, oh, well, I don't think we're really compatible in that area, how mad can you get if he says that to you? Because he's telling you, he's letting you know what's important to him. Just like he says, well, I can't date a woman that can't really cook. I like to eat. You ain't got to cook every day, but you don't like cooking. That's a problem.
No, that's true.
So for me, sex compatibility, chemistry is very important because I like to have it. Because if you're my girl,
Right.
why I'm not having sex with you?
Exactly. Well, 2025, I think the pendulum has swung, metaphorically and literally speaking, in the other direction. Like, I tell I don't have a lot of single friends, but I mean, be careful what you wish for. Because I've met some very aggressive, very high energy women. Like, in my sort of single journey. And I'm like, dang, really? How many times a day?
I don't know.
They out there.
I mean, once, okay, twice, maybe. I've heard some crazy requests and expectations. I'm like, really? And so I don't, and especially as this next generation coming up, and I don't, I'm just going to be totally honest.
Yeah.
Because of access to pornography, when people are in their teen years and they're seeing things that we didn't get to see when we were growing up, they have a whole new or a different perspective of what that act is. That is far more advanced. And it took us a minute to get into some of the stuff that these younger people in their early 20s have already mastered and perfected. And I hear people in their 20s talking about some serious stuff. I'm like, whoa, you guys are already into that? Threesomes and such?
Right.
In your early 20s? And I'm talking about women who are
Yeah.
interested, you know.
Yeah.
So the expectations should match, just like you
Yeah.
said. Like everyone's not super high sex drive, but that needs to match.
Right.
It's 100%, because you can have everything else.
Mm.
If you don't have intimacy, the adequate intimacy, if you don't have compatible intimacy, the relationship is not going to work.
Yeah.
I don't care how nice and sweet. You will have a fantastic friendship. A
Yeah.
fantastic
Yes.
friendship,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
A friend of mine posted an Instagram post, it was a few years ago, about one of his female friends. And someone said something about, oh, you guys are just friends. And he took offense to that statement, just friends, because like, you know, a friend is really important.
Yeah.
And a friendship usually lasts longer than a romantic relationship.
Absolutely.
So there shouldn't be anything wrong with saying, okay, we have everything else except the sexual compatibility. Let's be friends. And that should be a gift. But because you cannot fake it, you shouldn't try to fake it, no matter how much money the guy has, no matter how, you know, great the woman is. If you guys are not sexually compatible, it is not going to work forever. It may work for a year. It may work for a few months, but someone's going to cheat.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's just, it's inevitable that so, and then as time progresses, which I don't want to put my man on the spot, but as time progresses, there is an inevitable decline in interest. That's just how life works.
Yeah.
Most of what drives us to want to be with someone in that way is the curiosity. Like, oh, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what that be like.
Yeah.
But then once you've been with someone hundreds of times, that part goes away. And now it's like you said, it's about reinventing
Yeah.
the intimacy, reinventing the situation so that it does remain fresh. It does remain, which is a difficult thing to do. And if you love someone, right? I'm talking about like, you know, love being blind or whatever. When you love someone, you will try your best to be whatever it is you can be for that person, as to your best of your ability.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that sometimes that gets lost in translation.
I think that's tough because no elders sit you down when you're 21, 22 and be like, look, you know, if you get into a long-term marriage, the sex is going to be up and down. And here's what you do when it's down. Nobody has that kind. You got to kind of live it in real life. Like, wait a minute, I married you for 10 years, and then between 10 and 15, we was just sleeping in separate rooms, and I was doing my personal business. You had your toys. Like, we was cool. Nobody told me about this. So we have to live it in real time and think something is wrong, when in actuality, to be married for 35 years, if they really moved the veil and showed you what it is, it's like, yeah, we went through that. Yeah, my wife didn't bang me for 6 months. Yeah, I was mad. But then we got back to it, and it was better than ever. Like, we don't have those conversations. You got to just live through it. So I'm aware of that, but until you in the thick of it, you got to remind yourself, okay, this too will pass. This too, okay, she's sleeping in another room, or we not, she not feeling me. I'm not feeling her. She gained this weight, and I'm like, you ain't even attracted to me. You know, I'm not even turned on. My thing is just, it's two different brains. It's like, bro, just show grace. This is natural. This is not abnormal. This is natural. You know, your testosterone levels go up, estrogen levels get weird. We don't learn this stuff. You got to be in it, and nobody wants to tell you it because it's embarrassing, or it's like everybody want to perceive this. We have a perfect relationship. We're banging each other every year. We've been married for 40 years. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So you have to live through it, and sometimes you got to sit your nephew down or your niece down and be like, look, it's going to get rough. It's going. So for me, it's like, okay, although you may be having consistent sex as a single man, when you get into a relationship, it may dip. You might just be having sex 3 or 4 times a month with someone who really loves you, though, compared to whatever it used to be. It's like, wait a minute. So I'm in a relationship and I'm having less sex than I had when I was single. But you have to be like, yo, you got someone that's a ride or die for you, though. There is a compromise.
Right.
So it's tricky when you're in it in real time. So
But social media tells us that.
be careful, yeah. Be careful.
And this is where it gets tricky, because social media tells us that your woman should look like an Instagram model, and your
Mm-hmm.
man should drive a Lamborghini, and you should be going on trips every week, on a different island,
Right.
and this is what happiness looks like.
Oh man.
Happiness looks like this, and if you're not like this, and so people get hypnotized
Yeah.
by this completely erroneous,
I agree.
life situation. It doesn't happen that way,
No.
but that doesn't stop the expectations, right? And so sometimes, when we look at, or like I've met some of these Instagram influencers in real life,
Oh man.
and I'm like, you don't look anything like you look on Instagram.
I want my money back.
That's not right.
That is
So if you don't look like the way you look, I wonder how many other people.
Right.
And so we're pent up on this. I have to look like this, and I have to do this, and I have to buy this, and I have to live like this, and I have to whatever. When it's not really entirely accurate,
Right.
and we have these expectations of ourselves and of our partners that are completely ridiculous,
Yeah.
and it
we
puts a
did.
damper, especially when it comes to the physical department, because we think that our women should look like they look on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, that's the
It's-
women on Instagram don't look like the way they look on
Right.
Instagram. So how do you expect someone that's in,
Yeah.
And so a lot of my friends, especially my female friends, they laugh at my I get very particular about the word expectations.
Okay.
I feel like it is the murder weapon
Mm.
of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's what causes people to move on or be dissatisfied, not because they're not actually satisfied, but because their expectations have changed because of what they saw on social media, because of what such and such's husband, he
Right.
does this, and this, and this, and this. And it's like, okay, so now your expectations are no longer about your fulfillment, but it's more about keeping up with some other situation, which
Yeah.
from a physical standpoint is very difficult to do as you get older.
That's why I said at the end of the day, peace is the foundation of my relationship. That has nothing to do with money, sex, blah, blah, blah. So you don't get caught up in all these other things. It's just like, are you happy? Are you at peace? Is this a compatible situation you want to be in? Because at the end of the day, no matter who you with, you still want peace. You want to lay with somebody that you feel at peace with. You know what I mean? So it's that social media is really a delusion, and because we're kind of groomed and we're kind of seasoned and we kind of came up in the era where it's like we don't need social media to validate our self-esteem. We are truly blessed. Truly
100%.
blessed. The younger ones, 19, 20 likes and views and comments is detrimental to the next day they go to school. It's a thing. Nobody liked my post, or Ted said good luck with them eyelashes, and they're devastated. We good.
Right.
We like it.
And it causes them to like, okay, I didn't get a like on that post. Maybe I should make my shorts
There you
even
go.
higher or
Yeah.
even tighter. Or maybe I
Absolutely.
just won't wear anything at all. Maybe I'll just,
Only
Absolutely.
fans claim.
and so it becomes this consistent, quest
Yeah.
for the, at some point that
Acceptance. Yeah.
it's there's nowhere else to go.
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
You hit the wall.
exactly. And so there needs to be an introspective conversation you can have with yourself. Like, what am I really looking for? Not based on what I see on social media or what I see amongst the other relationships or people who are in my life.
Yeah.
What would make me happy organically, regardless of what I'm seeing
Yeah.
externally? What how do I fulfill this? Me.
You know, funny thing, I think the generation after this, like right now, they're in the thick of views and likes really changing. I think the generation after might be a little bit more savvy to where it's just like, I'm not falling for the likes and the views. And I hope and I think that they're going to be a little bit more like, social media is this. It's not really real.
Right.
95% of it is fake. 5% is, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like the vacations, and my man has abs, and my girl got a butt. And so I'm hoping the kids that are like 8, 9, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, social media. I don't even have an Instagram. I don't even be on there like
No,
that.
I think the next generation they'll be dating robots.
Uh-oh.
I had hope.
That's already
I had
happening.
hope.
Yeah,
Thanks a
great.
lot.
I hope not. I hope
You might be
I
right.
hope that you're right. I hope that
No.
we can somehow become human beings again.
But you might be right though.
Our humanity is at risk right now.
I agree.
Technology is replacing us. And we've seen Terminator, we've seen iRobot. We all think that the machines are going to come in and take over by force. We're going to give it to them.
Absolutely.
It is not going to be a hostile takeover. We are giving our social life
Absolutely.
to the machines.
Yeah.
We have substituted having real friendships. Like on our birthdays or on our friends' birthdays, we used to call and say, hey, we used to get together. Now it's, I got to make sure I make an Instagram post wishing a happy birthday to this person. Or this person is not really my friend. I didn't even put my picture up on my birthday on Instagram or Facebook. And the barometer in which we measure our social interactions has become more than 50% digital. And that scares me.
Yeah.
Because in relationships, it's organic. It's supposed to be organic.
Yeah.
But
We're living in a hybrid situation, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
I think we're choosing to live in a hybrid situation. I'm 59. I'll be 60 May 15th. And when I meet someone, I keep it. I hate wasting time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I ask off the top, what are you looking for?
Right.
Anyone that I'm dating, I ask, what are you looking for? Off the top. And I listen, I pay attention, and if it matches what I'm on, okay, well, I'm on that too. If it doesn't, I just listen. I say, well, thank you for sharing. because I'm not going to criticize what you're looking for.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, well, I'm not going to continue the conversation knowing that we are going to line up.
Yeah.
I have this thing I developed, and it's called the game theory of relationships.
Okay.
GTR.
The game relationships. And I get this example. I'm playing hopscotch. You walk up, you say, what are you playing? I'm playing hopscotch. What's that? You take a little stone, you throw it in the box, and you hop, so on and so forth. You want to play? You say, sure. Okay, you feel like you know the rules. And in any game you play to win or to lose fairly. So then we're playing, and you throw your stone, and it's on the line. I said, oh, you lose your turn. And you go, well, you didn't tell me that. And I go, my bad, I forgot. Now you have to assume that, okay, he probably really did forget. Let's keep playing. And we keep playing, and either you win or you lose, but nothing weird happens. Even if you lose, you feel, I lost fair and square. Same thing, relationship and dating. What are you on?
That's a red flag to someone.
Because any game you play to win. Any relationship you're in is to win. We anybody like, let's date, and if it doesn't work out right, there's no BS behind it. We just didn't work out right. We can still be cool. Versus infidelity or lies. Relationship, domestic violence. Like, same thing with marriage. When you get married, you play to win. What does a win look like? Not getting divorced. That's a win. And you play it every day. Because you're trying to win the day. And that's what I'm on. If I meet somebody, I tell them that corny statement about gang theory relationship.
Right.
If a woman says, I'm looking for a guy who could be my man, okay, well, I am too, looking for a woman. What does it look like? That's where the rules come in. You know, until we become something serious, are you able to still go out with other people? Sure. Okay, because now no one gets offended like, oh, so you date no women? Well, yeah. We both said that.
Right.
Okay, well, if at some point in time we have sex, then do we have a new conversation saying what we on? And if we start having sex, do we cut everything else we're doing out?
He's going
Just
by the
build
manual
on it.
book.
But see,
he's actually going chapter to chapter.
But see,
That's crazy.
and yeah, you're right. But when you have that type of conversation on the
No
front
makes it
end, no
right.
one's confused.
That's
Right. Yeah.
Communication.
And then, like that hopscotch rule or throwing something on the line, and I tell you the rule after the fact, if we don't have something, defined, and you find out I'm going out with somebody else, and now you're mad. I'm going, well, we never said we couldn't.
Right.
Tough conversation.
You didn't ask me, and okay, so how does that look like? Well, I don't want you to. Well, if we're not having sex right now, you can do whatever, and I can too, because we're getting to know each other.
Right.
But when you, like, little kids have it the best. Little kids say, I'm not your friend because you're mean to me.
They do.
I'm not your friend because you're mean to my friend. Little kids are just very black and white. But as we get older, you know,
it gets
you're
real
nice,
gray.
but I really can't, you know, you don't keep your word. And that's why we kind of tap dance around it versus just saying what offended us, what take us back and forth. And I get to the point, going to what you said, peace. Peace is important.
Yeah.
100%.
I got a T-shirt that says stress-free, drama-free, sucker-free, mandatory.
Right.
I need
For
those.
sure.
And the thing is, when you live your life where I'm not going to bring you any drama,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to accept any drama.
Yeah.
Or in the case of you, I'm going to do what I got to do to be a good husband.
And
And
maintain.
my expectation that you have a good wife and you keep moving that way, you'll have far less problem in relationships. And you're able to walk away faster when something doesn't line up. Because you told this person, this is what I'm on.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't have a conversation until something goes sideways. Well, baby, why you mad? Why you leaving? You know, versus on the front end. And it's okay for men to walk away too.
Yes.
We're taught for whatever reason. And I don't know what happened subliminally. That, oh, fight for it, make it work, fix it. Well, if I didn't mess it up, why am I trying? Why I gotta fix something I didn't mess up for someone that's not my wife?
But women don't like that. They
Yeah.
want us to fight even when they're wrong. Sometimes.
This has been an amazing conversation
It
and
has.
journey. We must do a part
Worthy
two.
of a part two.
Oh, wow.
Definitely.
What are your thoughts, Lori?
It's definitely a part two. I have so many more questions that we didn't even get to.
Oh man, we got to get to the rest of the questions.
Yes. Did you all have a great time tonight?
Very
A
good.
wonderful time.
That's
I
good.
really
Learned a
appreciate
lot.
This.
Yeah,
And sometimes we have to, we have to have these conversations
We do.
because, every perspective is important. I know sometimes we get discounted a little bit.
Right.
No wedges, ladies. I'm
No
sorry.
wedges.
No wedges.
Remember that,
No
listeners.
wedges.
You see,
You
Mr.
see this man? You
Lister?
better take your shoes off. You got no chance.
have on a wedge. All right, guys. Thank you
Thank
so
you all
much.
so much. We
It was a
appreciate it.
pleasure.
Have a great
Have a
time.
good one.